Erin's patron saint, St. Patrick's life and works. A stone lay deeply bedded in the clay until one of strong hand uncovered it, heaved it aloft, and made it the capstone of a noble edifice. That is St. Patrick's own description of his life. He was a centenarian waiting for his death when he wrote it, and to his eyes the career of the Apostle of Ireland was a blend of human worthlessness made capable of lofty achievement by the call of God. It is a great man's humble estimate of his share in remaking a great nation, and it is correct as to the humble beginning and the mighty accomplishment and the abiding humanity in the bosom of the man who wrought so mightily. Strange to say, he did not become embittered by the rough treatment Milcho gave him. His deepest sorrow was over the sad degradation in which paganish bound this fearless people, and the slave yearned with a never-forgotten longing for the conversion of his captors. His misfortunes he took to be just inflictions of providence. His piety kindled under adversity with a fervor which he himself admired in the declining days of his life. If the 16 years of dalliance had made the noble servile, the 6 years of servitude made the slave noble. He was up and at his devotions before the dawn, undismayed by snow or rain or hail. The long days were days of contemplation. In the solitude of the hills or deep in the forests, he poured forth his soul in prayer 100 times each day. His health never failed, and his spirits never flagged. Thus he was transformed until the time when the night voices prompted him to seek ship at a distant port and flee away to Britain. The next period of his life, something more than 30 years, is known to embrace a variety of events, but the order of their occurrence cannot be made out. It was for him a time of education in the scriptures and of training in ascetical living. There were other captivities, trips through Britain and Gaul, some activity in the combat of Pelagianism. He traversed Europe when it was being inundated with successive waves of new peoples. He spent years at the historical monasteries of Marmoutiers, Auxerre, and Lerins. But all the time the men of Heberion wrote letters to him in his dreams, and the people from the Western Sea called him to walk once more amongst them. A decisive step was taken when he approached Pope Celestine I for approbation of a mission to the Irish. A previous effort, St. Palladius's, had failed. Many remonstrated Patrick's purpose, either because they doubted his competence or because they appreciated the magnitude of his attempts. But there was no prevailing against a man who asserted nothing but his rusticity and his readiness, and who wanted but to be used by God. When he received news of St. Palladius's death, he had himself consecrated Bishop of Ireland by St. Amator of Ivrea in the year 432 AD. Perhaps it was because he was intent on the conversion of his old master Milcho that Patrick's return to Ireland was near the place where he had spent his years of slavery. He came up through the narrows of Strongford Lough and went ashore at Downpatrick in 432. His first missionary attempt was with the Ulster chief Dilchu, and resulted in the baptism of the chief and many clansmen. His first church was raised near the plouch of his entry at Saul. He could not break down the proud resistance of Milcho to a religion taught by a slave. But at Dundalk he converted a young noble named Benin, who became to him what Timothy was to St. Paul. His course southward toward Tara, seat of the royal authority, was big with omen for the faith of Ireland. Here he was appealing directly to the head of the nation and aiming to wrest from the Druids the advantage which entrenched privilege gave them. When he reached the hill of Slane, he looked across the valley at the eminence of Tara. Holy Saturday of the year, 433, had dawned. By the Ardri's order, no fire was to burn that day in the borders of Erin till the blazes of Tara's Druid feast had flung their message of rejoicing to all the hills. But Patrick defied Druidism. He passed on Slane to kindle the eastern fire and light the paschal candle. That fire broke through the gloom which paled Erin, and its rays have been the rays of the morning light-bearer, who knows no setting. It was not the end of opposition, it was not the end of resistance on the part of the druids and chieftains, it was not the end of malicious plots and bloody assaults against the saint and his followers. But it was a passport for the spokesman of Catholicity when prepared a welcome for them in every remote spot of the island. The persuasiveness of the bishop and the potent aid from heaven given him in manifold ways made his conquest of Innisfall both rapid and complete.
The preceding text has been from the front page of the March 17, 1921 newspaper in Stillwater, Minnesota, USA.